Wealthy man enters church, discovers his maid in need. What happened next left everyone in tears. Nathan Prescott strode through the church doors, his tailored suit a sharp contrast to the warm, inviting atmosphere of the Sunday morning gathering. The scent of pumpkin spice surrounded him like a cozy blanket, wrapping the pews where families laughed and shared stories. Yet, his heart was as locked down as his business portfolio. A sleek corporate facade was all he learned to wear, but everything shifted when he caught sight of Maria, the beloved church maid, clutching her apron and weeping. Gasps rippled through the crowd, shaking the foundation of his carefully constructed world. Her apartment, someone whispered, it's been condemned. For a brief moment, a vivid memory struck his mother's weary face at the end of a long day, masking her own struggles with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. It was a ghost that clawed at him. Empathy had no place in a man so consumed by status. Nathan felt the weight of the congregation upon him. A knot twisted in his chest. Would they rally behind her? He watched as whispers escalated into conversations about charity drives, their light-hearted tones scattered like autumn leaves in the wind. It repulsed him. Here were his peers, wealthy folks who wouldn't dare even notice the cracks in her world. He shook his head, forcing himself to think about that afternoon's board meeting instead. Yet, the contrast in emotion was inescapable. Determined to salvage what little compassion he had left, Nathan organized a fundraising dinner. But it fell flat, applause polite yet hollow, murmuring thin as the coffee in the mugs he handed out. Frustration simmered beneath his scowl. Every tepid donation felt like a slap, a reminder of his own privilege, emotionally weightless. Something deep inside him was unraveling. Was his success truly just an elaborate costume? Late one evening, a text lit up Nathan's phone. It was from Maria's eldest child, revealing their new home situation, an overcrowded shelter. Reading those words twisted Nathan's gut like a well-placed fist. Suddenly, he felt the pulse of humanity inside him, like hot blood rushing through his veins. He thought about what his father always said, the true measure of a man lies in how he lifts others, and he wondered if he had become the very antithesis of that idea. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Nathan stood there in his empty kitchen that night, staring at his reflection on the darkened glass, he finally felt the weight of his choices pressing down. He understood now that being a success meant nothing if he isolated himself behind glass walls. New determination surged through him. He would dive in, use his resources, and help rebuild not just a home but the threads of a community undone. But just as he began to map out his strategy, a haunting notification buzzed on his phone, an old familiar name that made his heart race and his stomach churn. A face from his past had resurfaced, threatening to unravel every small piece of hope he had begun stitching together. Nathan stood on the edge, looking into the depths of his own privilege, at a crossroads that felt all too reminiscent of his own childhood. What would he choose? The clock ticked as shadows closed in, leaving his future teetering. Nathan stared at the message, heart pounding. That name Veronica brought a flood of memories crashing back. She was a figure from a time when he still believed in simple joys, carefree laughs, and dreams untainted by the weight of ambition. How could she reach out now, after all these years? He tossed his phone onto the table with a shaky hand. The buzzing grew louder in his ears, mixing with the memories of laughter and the warmth of youthful friendships. But those moments had been chased away by choices he thought were necessary. It was a strange irony that his rise to the top had left him feeling so hollow. With a deep breath, Nathan returned to his mission. He had commitments to Maria's family that felt more urgent than any message from his past. The plans began to take shape in his mind, a community fundraiser, but this time, it needed to be different. He needed to reach hearts, not just wallets. He could no longer clothe himself in anonymity. He would step out, face everyone with vulnerability, and share what he had kept hidden for so long. The next day, with passion ignited inside him, Nathan called a meeting with local businesses. He spoke not as the successful investor they all knew, but as a man who had recently learned the meaning of community. Words spilled from him like long-lost truths. Let us do this for Maria and her children. This isn't just about a fundraiser. It's about creating a sense of belonging, he pleaded. Their responses were cautious but engaged. A few nods turned into commitments. It felt like a fragile door cracking open, a promise of new beginnings. As flyers for the event began to circulate, Nathan recruited volunteers from the church and nearby schools. Each person who signed on gave a part of themselves, sharing connections that stretched across the community. He quickly learned names and faces, felt the kinship grow. He poured himself into this initiative, often working late into the night, and for the first time, the work felt genuine. Then, just when he thought momentum was building, Nathan's phone buzzed again. He felt a deep twinge of hesitation but knew he had to face Veronica, to understand why she had reached out. She wanted to meet. On the day of their meeting, he walked to the cafe with trepidation. How could he explain the man he had become? As he stepped inside, he spotted her already seated, a swirl of familiarity and unresolved emotions. Veronica looked the same and yet so different, like echoes of laughter mingling with shadows of disappointment. She smiled cautiously, and for a moment, the past felt like a fragile glass ornament in the air between them. Why now, Veronica? He finally asked, the weight of years crashing down on his shoulders. She hesitated, tearing up in a way that made Nathan's chest ache. I need your help, she whispered, her voice trembling. I'm not who I used to be either. This wasn't just a conversation about them, it felt like a pivotal moment, a thread that could weave their stories together again or pull them apart forever. Nathan's heart raced as he braced himself for the revelation to come, wondering if he could dig deep enough to navigate the complexities of forgiveness and transformation. The answer might change everything. Would he become the man he wanted to be, or would the ghosts of their shared history pull him back into the shadows? Nathan's hands fidgeted in his lap as he absorbed Veronica's words. The cafe's cheerful chatter seemed to fade away, leaving the two of them suspended in a moment that felt both intensely personal and overwhelmingly public. He reached for the words, unsure of where to start. What do you mean you're not who you used to be? He asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. Veronica wiped a stray tear from her cheek, her emotions spilling over as she took a breath to collect herself. Life happened, Nathan. After we lost touch, I struggled. I lost my job, my sense of self. I went down a path I never thought I'd travel. Her confession hung between them like a weight. Memories of laughter morphing into silence danced through Nathan's mind. He remembered the girl with dreams written across her heart, the spirit that had once been so vibrant. I've been battling addiction, Veronica continued, her voice now barely above a whisper. I'm in recovery, trying to rebuild. Nathan's heart twisted at the rawness of her truth. It felt like a too familiar story, one he had seen ripple through his own community without ever truly understanding the depths of pain. Why reach out to me? He asked, his tone softer. You didn't need to come to me. Because you were always the light in my darkness, she admitted, her hazel eyes splashed with desperation. I thought maybe you could help me find my way back. I don't want to be that person anymore. Her honesty cracked through Nathan's defenses, an unexpected vulnerability that flowed around the sharp edges of his own empty success. There was a part of him that wanted to return to that carefree past, to a time when he could have been there for her. But was he truly ready to help her? I'm trying to do something meaningful, he finally said, finding his voice again. I'm organizing a fundraiser for Maria's kids. I want to bring the community together. If you're willing to be a part of that, I can't expect that from you, she interrupted, shaking her head. I'm supposed to figure this out myself. I just thought you might be the person to bring some clarity. Something stirred in Nathan, something almost tender. The realization hit him, they were both seeking redemption, searching for paths that felt lost. Could they find their way together? "I can help you," he said, surprising even himself. "Not in the way you think, but I can guide you back to the community. That might be a start for both of us." Veronica looked up, hope flickering across her features as if she were slowly untangling herself from the despair that had held her captive. "You really mean that?" "Yeah," he nodded, feeling the weight of their shared history shift from a burden to a possibility. "Let us help each other." As they exchanged tentative smiles, Nathan realized that the past, with all its complexities, didn't have to define them. In this fragile moment, amid the lingering echoes of laughter, their journeys intertwined once again, but an urgent thought nagged at him: how would the community react to Veronica's return? What if her presence stirred old wounds? He couldn't shake the fear that not everyone would understand. As they prepared to leave the cafe, Nathan felt an unexpected resolve settling in. Together, they were stepping back into the light, but would the darkness that sought to reclaim them let go so easily? The sky darkened outside, and the world felt both hopeful and daunting. Nathan clenched his fists, feeling the weight of their next steps looming ahead. "It's time to show everyone who we really are," he said quietly, but uncertainty lingered in the air between them like a question yet unanswered. Nathan stepped out into the cool evening air, a contrast to the warmth of the cafe where they had shared their truths. He could still feel the buzz of the coffee shop around him, the mingling of laughter and clinking cups, but that world now felt distant. Beside him, Veronica took a deep breath as if trying to capture the moment, filling her lungs with hope. The streetlights flickered to life, illuminating her face with a soft glow. She looked fragile yet determined, a blend of past pain and present courage. "Where do we start?" she asked, her voice steady as she studied the ground, lost in thought. "I guess we start with the fundraiser," Nathan offered, sensing her apprehension. "It's important to me, and I want you to feel part of something positive." "Right." She glanced up, uncertainty clouding her eyes. "But how do I fit in? I don't know anyone anymore. What if they don't want me back?" Nathan felt a knot of empathy tighten in his chest. "People can surprise you," he said gently, recalling the warmth that had once radiated from this town. "They might just be willing to see you, not the past." As they walked, Nathan noticed the familiar streets that seemed to echo their childhood days. Each corner held memories, yet those memories felt like ghosts now, haunting and bittersweet. They passed by Lisa's diner, where they had shared fries and late-night talks, and the park where they had spent countless afternoons under the sun. "Maybe we could organize a small event to reintroduce you," he suggested, trying to pull her out of her worries. "Something casual. Get people talking again." Veronica nodded slowly, apprehension still evident on her face. "You think they'll accept me?" "I don't know, but you deserve a chance," Nathan replied earnestly. "We all do." Suddenly, a group of teenagers careened down the sidewalk, their laughter ringing out like distant bells. Nathan instinctively stepped back, watching as they passed, the energy of youth reminding him of simpler times. But with that feeling came the weight of their current reality, of decisions made and paths taken. "What if they remember me differently?" she whispered as they reached the park. "What if they do?" Nathan countered softly. "People change, Veronica. It's okay to be different now." They paused by a swing set, rusted but still capable, a piece of their past standing still against the changes all around. He could see her grappling with the memories of who she was and the heavier burden of who she had become. "I don't want to go back to that life," she said, her voice breaking. "But how do I show that?" He turned to her, heart racing at the underlying desperation in her words. "You start by being honest and showing up. That's all anyone can ask." As her eyes met his, something shifted between them, an unspoken promise. They could fight together, face the ghosts that threatened to hold them down. "I'm scared, Nathan," she confessed, her breath hitching in her throat. Me too, he admitted, feeling the weight of uncertainty on his shoulders. But we'll face it together. An electric energy rippled through him, a surge of hope mixed with anxiety. They both knew the journey ahead would be complicated, but perhaps they were meant to carry each other through. Just then, a shadow moved across the park, catching Nathan's attention. A familiar face stepped into the fading light, someone who had watched their history unfold, a local figure whose presence hinted at old loyalties and new challenges. "What now?" Veronica whispered, her grip on Nathan's arm tightening as the stranger approached. He swallowed hard, emotions swirling in his chest. All he could think was, this was only the beginning, and the test of their strength was about to unfold. But as a hush fell over the park, Nathan couldn't help but wonder, was this the support they needed, or just another voice from the past that could drag them down? Nathan's heart raced, his pulse quickening as the figure stepped into the pool of light near the swing set. It was Mr. Ellis, the town's former mayor, whose presence always loomed large, part mentor, part specter of old judgments. Nathan remembered the numerous times they had shared a few tense words at community events. Veronica, too, had memories of him, a mixture of anxiety and resolve painted her face as they stood rooted to the spot. "Mr. Ellis," Nathan called out, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. "What brings you here tonight?" Mr. Ellis adjusted his glasses, his expression unreadable. "I've been hearing murmurs about the fundraiser," he replied, glancing between Nathan and Veronica, a hint of curiosity in his gaze. "Thought I'd see for myself what the fuss was about." Veronica moved closer to Nathan, as if seeking his strength. He could feel the tension radiating off her, her fingers gripping his arm as if to reassure herself. This wasn't just a chance encounter, it was a potential reckoning. "Yeah, it's a fresh start," Nathan said, the words heavy with layers of meaning. "We're hoping to get the community together, bring everyone back to what really matters. Rebuild bridges," Mr. Ellis mused, his eyes sharpening on Veronica. "Brave of you both to venture into these waters. Some might say it takes courage and a certain level of foolishness." Veronica's breath hitched, but Nathan stepped forward. "She's not a fool for wanting to make a change. None of us are. People grow, they can change. You should know that." The fire in his voice surprised even him. A moment of silence followed. Nathan could see Mr. Ellis processing the shift. The former mayor had always held the keys to the town's perception, the judgment that hovered like fog. Would he choose to unlock the past or let it remain? "Very well," Mr. Ellis finally said, his tone almost contemplative. "But with every action comes consequence, Nathan. You want to hold a fundraiser? You better be prepared for the eyes that will be watching. For those who remember." Veronica flinched at his words, but Nathan pressed on, refusing to let old fears dictate their future. "We're prepared for that. We've both been through enough to know that this time, we're doing it for ourselves, not for them." With a thoughtful nod, Mr. Ellis surveyed the park, taking in the swings, the old slides covered with rust, remnants of innocence resting quietly. "I'll keep my eye on you," he said, and as soon as the words left his mouth, Nathan wondered if it was really a threat or an unexpected offer of support. As Mr. Ellis turned and walked away, leaving a heavy silence in his wake, Nathan felt a strange mixture of relief and dread. Veronica's grip loosened slightly, but her eyes remained wide with uncertainty. "Did we just survive that?" she whispered. "Maybe we did," Nathan answered, his heart still pounding. "But we still have to face the rest of the town. They're waiting to see what we do next." She hesitated, looking again at the dimly lit pathway leading back to the cafe. "Do you really think they'll support me?" "There's only one way to find out," he replied, encouragingly. "We can't keep running from our pasts. Let us take that first step. Together." The words felt like a pact, but the depth of what lay ahead loomed over them as they exchanged a determined glance. This moment marked the threshold of their journey back, one riddled with risks but sprinkled with a glimmer of hope, just as they took their first step on that path, a piercing sound echoed through the park. It shattered the heavy silence, a shrill scream from the direction of the old church at the end of the street. Nathan's heart sank. What was that? Veronica's eyes widened with fear. We need to see. Driven by instinct, they raced toward the sound. But what would they find? Was it a call for help, or had their efforts to reconnect stirred something darker? Nathan and Veronica sprinted down the path, their breaths coming fast and shallow. The echo of that scream hung in the air, thick and unsettling. With each step, the familiar surroundings of the park transformed into a shadowy backdrop for something more sinister. As they approached the church, the old wooden doors stood ajar, creaking slightly in the night breeze. A dim light flickered inside, casting nervous shadows that danced on the worn floorboards. They hesitated, exchanging a glance that spoke of both fear and determination. Together, they pushed the door wider and stepped inside. The sight that met them froze Nathan in his tracks. The church's once sterling sanctuary was now littered with overturned chairs. The air was heavy with a mix of incense and something sweeter, an unsettling contrast to the tension that smoldered beneath. In the front pew, a woman was crumpled on the ground, her body trembling. It was Mrs. Hargrove, the town's longtime maid, known for her kindness and warm smiles. She was clutching her phone, tears streaming down her cheeks. Mrs. Hargrove. Veronica hurried toward her, her voice laced with concern. What happened? She looked up, her face a mask of panic and despair. It's Timothy, she sobbed, her voice barely above a whisper. He's hurt. I don't know what happened. Nathan's mind raced. Timothy was just a boy, a bright soul who sometimes helped his mother clean the church on Saturdays. What do you mean hurt? He pressed as they knelt beside her. He was playing out back and then I heard a crash, a terrible noise. She burst out, shaking with fear. I didn't see what happened. Veronica's gaze darted to Nathan, the weight of their decision to step back into the community crashing down hard, thickening the air around them. They both felt it an obligation to act, to comfort, and to protect. Let us go back, Nathan said decisively, his voice steady. We need to find Timothy. He's just a kid. We can't let him be alone, not now. Veronica nodded, even as anxiety gripped her heart. She found strength in Nathan's determination, following him back out into the night. The church's fading light dimmed behind them, leaving only the reflection of their fears and hopes. As they hurried toward the back of the church, they could hear soft whimpering. Nathan pushed aside some foliage, revealing a narrow path leading to the old playground that bordered the church grounds. Just beyond the swings, a small figure lay crumpled on the ground. Timothy! Veronica cried, rushing forward. The boy was curled tightly, twisting his face in pain. Nathan knelt beside him, assessing the situation. What happened, buddy? He asked gently, instinctively putting a hand on Timothy's shoulder. His hazel eyes flickered open, shimmering with tears. I fell from the swing, he choked out, each word a struggle. I think my leg is broken. Nathan felt his gut twist. A child shouldn't have to face this kind of pain. You're going to be okay, Timothy. We'll get you help. Just hang on. Panic surged through Veronica as she knelt beside Nathan, her heart racing. What if we can't get anyone here in time? The boy winced, and Nathan knew he needed to keep both of them calm. We'll call for help, he said, his voice resolved. Just hold on, buddy. I'll stay with you. But even as the words left his mouth, a chilling thought raced through his mind. What if their efforts to reconnect with the community had awoken something darker? Together they had wanted to rebuild, but now they were plunged into a crisis that threatened to unravel all their hopes. In that moment, as Nathan and Veronica faced down the reality of what unfolded before them, he couldn't shake the feeling they were caught in something much larger than a single night. It wasn't just about one boy or one fundraiser. It felt like the very heart of the community was at stake. Suddenly, a distant siren wailed, cutting through the tension like a knife. Help was on the way, but what would that mean for Nathan and Veronica and their intentions to come home for good? As the sirens grew louder, their stomachs knotted with a mix of hope and dread. Would they be ready for what lies ahead? Nathan's heart raced as he kept his hand on Timothy's shoulder, feeling the pulse of panic and pain beneath his fragile skin. Veronica held the boy's other hand, her grip tender yet firm, offering a lifeline of reassurance. The faint sound of approaching sirens faded into the background as she focused on Timothy, their shared urgency cocooning them in a moment that felt suspended in time. "Timothy, breathe with me," Veronica encouraged, trying to keep his eyes on hers. "In, out, like this." She demonstrated, her breath unsteady but rhythmic. The boy matched her shallow breaths, his face pinched in agony. "I'm scared," he quivered, glancing around at the dark playground as if searching for the light. "You're not alone," Nathan replied. "We're here, and help is coming. You're going to be all right." But as the sirens drew closer, Nathan couldn't shake the unease from the pit of his stomach. He pictured the townspeople's faces when they arrived. Would they see them as saviors or intruders? Their return home felt like a dare against the tide, but tonight's events made it feel all the more precarious. Amidst the chaos, Timothy suddenly squeezed Veronica's hand. "Can we stay here forever?" he asked, wide-eyed. "Forever?" Veronica repeated, her heart breaking. "No, sweetie. Just for now. We'll stay here until help comes." Before they could reassure him further, bright lights flooded the playground, illuminating the faces of the arrival crowd. Nathan shielded his eyes at first, then urged his gaze to the officers and paramedics stepping toward them, their expressions a mix of professionalism and compassion. "Hey there," one of the paramedics said gently as he approached, kneeling next to Nathan. "I'm Jason. We're here to help. Can you tell me what happened?" "A swing accident," Nathan replied quickly. "I think his leg is broken." "All right, Timothy," Jason said, projecting warmth amidst the worry. "We're going to make sure you're taken care of. Just hold tight." Timothy whimpered but nodded, seemingly comforted by Jason's calm presence. Nathan could feel the electricity of fear slowly dissipate as hope crept in. As the paramedics got to work, Nathan stood, stepping back to catch his breath. The thrumming adrenaline that had propelled him forward started to slow, and he and Veronica exchanged weary yet relieved smiles. It felt surreal to have made it through the half-light and into this moment of unity. But just before they could let their guard down, a voice broke through the crowd. "What's happening here?" It was Mr. Thompson, the town's wealthiest figure, his voice booming over the din. The surface of his polished demeanor cracked, revealing a depth of concern he rarely showed. Nathan's stomach tightened at the sight of him. The last thing they needed was scrutiny and speculation. "A boy fell and injured himself," Nathan replied, forcing a calmness he didn't quite feel. Mr. Thompson stepped forward, his face inches from the frazzled scene, scanning for details. "Isn't that Mrs. Hargrove's son?" "Yes," Veronica said, taking a step closer, trying to deflect any spotlight that might swing toward them. Without warning, Timothy's soft voice piped up, "I'm okay, Mr. Thompson. Nathan and Veronica are here with me." A hush fell over the crowd, and it felt like the ground beneath Nathan shifted. The eyes of the townspeople turned from concern to curiosity, and he could almost feel the mention of their names ripple through the whispers that followed. What had they uncovered about their lives that evening? And in this act of bravery, nudged by the soft voice of a child, would they rekindle bonds or build new ones? As they helped Timothy onto a stretcher, Nathan caught Veronica's eye again. They both understood that the night wasn't over. The warmth of community was tangled with shadows they had yet to face. Nathan could already hear murmurs behind him, the weight of expectations creeping back into the air. How could they continue to rebuild what they had come to cherish? Just as the sirens blared one last echo, a shadow flitted through the trees, and Nathan felt a chill creep. down his spine. Was it just his imagination, or did something darker stir in the depths of the park? With uncertainty thickening in the air, Nathan squeezed Veronica's hand. Where would this journey take them next? And what lay hidden just beyond the glow of the streetlights? The paramedics worked with quick efficiency, but for Nathan, every second felt stretched like an eternity. Timothy, now lying on the stretcher, looked up with wide, frightened eyes. The world around him blurred into a swirl of voices, lights, and faces, but he kept searching for Nathan and Veronica as if they were his anchors. "Timothy, you're going to be just fine," Jason assured him, expertly wrapping a bandage around the young boy's leg. Still, the quiver in Timothy's voice lingered, chipping away at Nathan's composure. He wished desperately for the magic words to erase the fear in the boy's eyes. "Remember what I told you," Veronica whispered softly, brushing a strand of hair from Timothy's forehead. "You're brave, and we're right here with you." The crowd hovered nearby, and Nathan's anxiety returned tenfold. He felt their gazes pressing down as if dissecting every move. The whispers that followed Timothy's admission hung in the air, laden with curiosity and concern. Was this the moment where they would finally be seen, or judged without mercy? Then, just on the edge of the crowd, Nathan spotted Mr. Thompson again. The man's expression had shifted from surprise to something more contemplative. As he witnessed the struggle and kindness unfolding before him, Nathan sensed that the wealthy figure was grappling with his own emotions. Maybe, just maybe, there was a hidden depth beneath that polished exterior. "Call Mrs. Hargrove," Mr. Thompson barked suddenly, turning toward one of the other bystanders. "She should be here." The mention of Timothy's mother throbbed heavily in Nathan's chest. What would she think about them? Would she paint them as heroes or intruders on this night of unforeseen events? Nathan took a deep breath, readying himself for the forthcoming waves of scrutiny. The sirens had faded to a distant wail as the stretcher moved. Timothy glanced back one last time, locking eyes with Nathan. "Will you come with me?" he asked, vulnerability raw in his voice. "Always," Nathan promised, and for a moment, the world narrowed down to just the three of them. As the paramedics wheeled Timothy away toward the ambulance, Veronica stepped closer to Nathan, a flicker of concern woven through her features. "What if they don't understand?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "We just have to show them," Nathan replied, doubts creeping into his mind. "Show them we're more than just the past." The murmurs from the crowd crescendoed as they began to whisper Timothy's name along with Nathan and Veronica's. Each syllable felt like it strung together a narrative they hadn't anticipated, one that might change everything about their return. But then, as if it summoned a dark storm, Mr. Thompson raised his voice once more. "This has gone on long enough. If he is hurt because of negligence, we will get to the bottom of this." Tension surged, and the crowd shifted, as Nathan felt all eyes now on him, heavy with expectation. He could almost see the judgment loom like a thundercloud. Would they hear the truth or twist the story according to their biases? Heart racing, Nathan exchanged a look with Veronica, knowing they had to step into the shadow of suspicion and unravel whatever story it was that was taking shape here. And then, piercing through the murmurs, Nathan heard a new voice, soft yet powerful, calling from within the crowd. "Mr. Thompson, wait. What if they're the ones who saved him?" What was happening? Suddenly, the atmosphere morphed. As anticipation thickened, Nathan could feel the tide turning, but he wasn't ready for how it would wash over them. Who had spoken? And would their words bring them closer together or pull them deeper into uncertainty? Nathan strained to see through the thrumming crowd. The whispering voices nestled in his ears, and he felt butterflies start to flutter violently in his stomach. Whoever had spoken up did so with courage, and Nathan longed for that strength to resonate through him. "Do we even know if that's true?" Mr. Thompson shot back, skepticism etched across his features. "Someone better explain what happened." A woman stepped forward from the crowd, her face illuminated by the flashes of streetlights. Nathan recognized her, Mrs. Hargrove, Timothy's mother. Her eyes were wide, darting between Nathan and Veronica, and her complexion had paled under the stress. "Where is my son?" she demanded, her voice reverberating with urgency. "Right here, Mrs. Hargrove." Jason, one of the paramedics, called back, his tone soothing yet firm. With Mrs. Hargrove's arrival, the atmosphere thickened, a tension so tangible it felt as though they were all holding their breaths together. "I am so sorry. I was busy and didn't check," she fumbled, but her eyes were locked onto Nathan, as if demanding answers. "Timothy had a terrible fall," Nathan explained, his voice shaking. He was here with us," Veronica interjected, stepping forward to take some of the weight off Nathan's shoulders. "We were all together, and he got hurt, but we tried to help him." Someone from the crowd spoke, "But how did this happen?" There were murmurs of agreement, the crowd leaning in closer, eager for more. Nathan instinctively tightened his fists at his sides. He noticed Mr. Thompson glare at him, the flicker of doubt still there. "If I hadn't left him unsupervised," Mrs. Hargrove started to crumble under the weight of guilt. Her voice dropped into a whisper, "It's my fault." "Not at all," Nathan said quickly. "We were all there. He just transformed into a man on a mission to climb a tree." A nervous chuckle escaped from a few of the witnesses. "A tree?" "Yes," Nathan continued, gaining momentum. "He wanted to reach a bird's nest he saw up there." Timothy was excited. I wanted to help them." Timothy's voice suddenly reached them from the ambulance, faint but clear enough to break through the heavy emotion. Their heads turned simultaneously toward the ambulance, where Timothy's small figure could be seen nestled among blankets. "Mom!" His call was bright with determination, though tinged with pain. Mrs. Hargrove rushed forward as if pulled by an invisible string. "Timothy! I'm here." But Nathan felt rooted to the spot, uncertainty coiling around his heart. Would this moment of clarity bring it all crashing down? Mr. Thompson lifted a brow, watching the family unite in their moment of distress. He pointed an accusing finger at Nathan, "you can't just let him do that. What were you thinking about?" The words lodged in Nathan's throat. He couldn't say it, that they were trying to let Timothy experience his life. The ache of fighting for forgiveness ran through him. Veronica stepped closer to Nathan, her eyes reflecting the shared anxiety. "We did what we could. He's brave, Mr. Thompson. We all need to learn to let our children be brave." The crowd began to murmur once again. A mixture of agreement and hesitation filled the air, and Nathan felt hopeful, yet scared. Everything hinged on that moment. "Do we let them try?" whispered a voice from the back, and suddenly silence broke across the crowd. Finally, someone stepped up again, their voice butter smooth. "What if we look at their intentions, instead of their actions? What if the words faded into uncertainty, leaving Nathan holding the weight of the moment? Would they see Timothy's bravery through their judgments?" As Nathan looked from Veronica to Timothy, panic settled in. Would this be the moment that defined them as more than just variegated shadows of their past? And then the real question loomed: what would emerge from the echoes of truth, and could they truly step away from who they used to be? The silence grew heavy around them, a thick fog that seemed to dampen every breath. Nathan's heart thudded as he instinctively reached for Veronica's hand, the warmth of her palm grounding him amidst the growing tension. Mrs. Hargrove knelt beside Timothy, tears in her eyes, searching the faces of the crowd for understanding. The urgency in the air hung thick, electric, ready for a jolt of clarity. "Let them try." The voice rang out again, confidence rising with the sound. Nathan felt like a pinball, bouncing between hope and fear. Could this moment lead to forgiveness and healing? Or would it tear their fragile threads apart? Timothy's small voice cracked through the haze. "I wanted to help the birds." He winced, leaning slightly, yet his eyes glimmered with fierce determination. "I'm not afraid." Around them, faces softened, and the murmur of the crowd began to shift. Nathan could see it, the shadows fading, replaced by flickers of shared understanding. Here was a boy, brave and true. Mrs. Hargrove wrapped her arms around Timothy, drawing strength from him, her voice cracking but steady. "You're my hero," she said, her heart swelling as she hugged him tight. "I was trying to be brave like you, Mom," Timothy replied, giggles bubbling through his strained breaths. Laughter mixed with tears, painting the moment in colors of vulnerability and warmth. It was as if a door had opened, letting in fresh light. "We all need to be brave," Veronica's voice came, echoing Timothy's sentiment. "In times like these, we stand together." Mr. Thompson's expression shifted, the hardness in his eyes softening slightly. He looked from Nathan to Timothy, finally understanding that the real lesson was not about blame, but about community, courage, and redemption. The crowd began to nod collectively. The murmurs of agreement turned into whispers of support, the tendrils of empathy weaving through the hearts of the spectators. "I know my grandmother used to tell me stories about how we help our neighbors," an older gentleman spoke, stepping forward, his voice rich with nostalgia. "Let us remember that tonight. We pulled together for each other," another chimed in hard times, we stand tall." The crowd began to surge forward, not with judgment, but with compassion. Nathan could feel the weight of scrutiny begin to lift. Hope unfurled, bright and shimmering as it spread among the people. "Let us support each other," he said, raising his voice to reach those closest. "This isn't just about one boy, it's about what we choose to build together." Veronica turned to Nathan, her eyes shimmering with gratitude. "You did it," she mouthed, a radiant smile breaking through the tension between them. The moment took on a life of its own, courage growing like flowers in the springtime sun. Mrs. Hargrove lifted Timothy onto the stretcher, squeezing his hand tight. "You're going to be okay, sweetheart." Nathan felt something shift in himself, a renewed purpose that settled deep in his chest. He could be the man who chose empathy over judgment. The man who might help rewrite their community's narrative. "Let us work together for the fundraiser, for Timothy's family, for Maria's kids. Let us each do a part." The crowd began to murmur again, this time with excitement. "Yes!" someone shouted, raising their hand high. "Count me in." One by one, hands went up like a wave, breaking forth, a simple gesture uniting them, reminding Nathan that there was strength in vulnerability. With each raised hand, the past flickered, yielding like shadows under the sun. They were more than whispers of old wounds, they were ready to share their stories, their struggles. "I'll be part of the planning committee." Mr. Thompson stepped forward, surprising even himself. "I've seen what's hidden beneath our surface, and it's time we reach out." Nathan couldn't believe his ears. This was the crucial turning point of their endeavor. The long shadows of their past were beginning to fade. One by one, faces filled with purpose and determination, an unspoken promise. Nathan exchanged a knowing glance with Veronica. At that moment, they were not just fighting their battles, they were rallying a community ready to rise together. As they laid the groundwork for change, Timothy looked up, his spirit unbroken despite his pain. "I know you all will help," he said, a brave smile stretching across his face. "Yes, we will," Nathan affirmed, his voice steady. "All of us." In the dim glow of the streetlights, a new promise shimmered ahead of them, a promise of joy, of healing, of a transformed community. They were no longer defined by their past but instead forged from compassion and shared strength. Together, Nathan whispered, heart full, just like that, the darkness that had loomed over them dissolved, giving way to the bright dawn of new beginnings. Now, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united as a family, as a community. So, here's what you need to do: subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could inspire your own journey. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm and keep these transformative stories alive. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know the importance of supporting the channel.